Good evening, everyone. Here is Geraldo Lemos Neto from Belo Horizonte, Brazil, and we are transmitting live from Portal Saber Espiritismo. I'm here with Marco Gandra and Silvana Saldanha. Last week, we broadcast a historic meeting with Dr. Banerjee from India and Chico Xavier that took place in 1971 in São Paulo. The whole meeting, more than 1 hour and 35 minutes of this historical moment in São Paulo were broadcast. And of course, we didn't have all the translation from the people that spoke Portuguese in that meeting, and because of that we are now doing this program, the program To Know Spiritism number 30. We are at Kardec Radio, Spiritism Dissemination, and Spiritist Network, Discover Spiritist Network, and also in our Portal Saber Espiritismo in Brazil. So we are now doing in this program the explanation of what happened at that historical moment. First of all, we have to talk about who is Dr. Hemendra Nath Banerjee. Of course, he came to Brazil in 1970. He was invited by Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade from São Paulo. Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade was a great Brazilian spiritist researcher in the field of reincarnation. He was founder of the IBPP, the Brazilian Institute of Psychophysical Research. And the fact of the matter is that when they got together in 1970, Dr. Hernani Andrade and Dr. Hemendra Banerjee in São Paulo, and Dr. Banerjee got to know about Chico Xavier's work and Chico Xavier's mediumship, he expressed the desire to meet Chico Xavier in person. And so that they arranged at that moment another meeting for the next year in 1971. And in fact, Dr. Banerjee were invited again to explain his works at the IBPP, the Brazilian Institute of Psychobiophysical Research. And after that, he went with Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade to the home of our dear friends of the Centro Espírita União, the couple Galvez and Nena, and in their home took place this meeting. He was with the help of a translator, Dr. Banerjee, and both Chico Xavier and him engaged in a very interesting dialogue about reincarnation, about the Indies, the Hindus' history, and of course about the Mahatmas. They talked also about Tibet and the adaptation of the zebu breeding, of cattle breeding in the city of Uberaba, where Chico Xavier lived from 1959 on. You can see here a picture of Dr. Hemendra Nath Banerjee. And who is he? We must state who is he. The audio that we broadcast last week was given to us by the Mr. Oceano Vieira de Mello, and Mr. Oceano generously gave all the authorizations for us to broadcast and to do programs with this audio. And we thank him very much. Thank you, Oceano. And it is also in his DVD, in Portuguese, A Prova Científica da Reencarnação, in English, the Scientific Proof of Reincarnation. The interview with Chico Xavier, Emendranath Banerjee, and Dr. Ney Prieto Pérez. Who is Dr. Banerjee? Professor Emendranath Banerjee was born in 1931 and he lived until 1985. He was born in India. As an investigator, he raised more than 1,000 cases that suggest reincarnation. He was director of research at the Indian Institute of Parapsychology, affiliated with the Research Institute of Varanasi Sanskrit University in India. He is most known by his research on reincarnation. At the invitation of the Brazilian Institute of Psychobiophysical Research, Professor Dr. Banerjee was in Brazil in December 1970 and the second time in August, 29th of August 1971. Dr. Ney Prieto Pérez, another Brazilian researcher, spiritist researcher, especially in the medical field, in the physician field, in Dr. Prieto Pérez, in the special edition of the Spiritist Review, the Folha Espírita, the Review of São Paulo, Spiritist Review of São Paulo, commemorating Chico Xavier's 50th years of mediumship, described the meeting as follows. We were attending that historical night on August 29, 1971. There, comfortably seated, were Chico Xavier, Professor Banerjee, and Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade. The subject discussed was reincarnation. On the one hand, Chico Xavier, the man who perceives in himself the confrontations of the distant yesterday with the present today in various creatures that seek him. The reach of his sensibility or sensitivity, at times penetrating the past, at times receiving from the spiritual emissaries themselves. In some cases that he attends, makes him aware of embarrassing facts, the cause arising from the current sufferings of many people, all in a logical and perfect chain, proving and elucidating the whole process of action and reaction, cause and effect in earthly existence. Chico Xavier is the very testimony of this truth. It is the evident, living proof of reincarnation. Chico does not care about the scientific evidence of the Spiritist postulate. Reincarnation because he perceives, he feels, he leaves the evidence of the facts on him. On the other hand, Professor Hemendranath Banerjee, whose presence amongst us concretizes an ideal nurtured since 1965, Banerjee adopted the expression extracerebral memory and developed exhaustive research work in the field of reincarnation. This outstanding trio was completed by Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade, known to all of us. It was really a historical meeting at a very significant time that marked and opened horizons, the extent of which we were unable to reach, taking by all means the knowledge of the truth that reincarnation contains, collaborating without any doubt in the preparation of tomorrow that the motherland of the gospel will play on the planet. Of course, he is speaking of Brazil in that particular last sentence. We reproduce an excerpt from the debate to illustrate the scope of the topics covered. So this is very interesting. This testimony was given by Dr. Prieto Perez about this meeting. He was one of the attendants, and of course he acted also like a translator to Chico Xavier and so on, also from Portuguese to English to Dr. Banerjee. And we are very happy, very pleased to get to know this audio. It's very an emotional time to see and hear the talking of those most valuable and most intelligent and most spiritualized men at that time in 1971 in São Paulo. And in this picture you can see Dr. Banerjee with his wife, and standing up Mr. Suzuki Mr. Suzuki Hashizumi, who is Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade's wife, and a very dear friend of ours. And if she listens to this program, a very good hug to you, dear Suzuki. And you can see here also Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade sitting down right beside his wife, Suzuko. And in one point of this meeting, Dr. Banerjee asked Chico Xavier, what is the future of research on reincarnation? And Chico Xavier responded, spirits think it is of the greatest reach, because reincarnation, when it becomes positive, will change all of psychology, psychiatry, and psychoanalysis. We see that the world needs the idea of reincarnation. Later, so this is very important, Chico Xavier explaining how important it is, the knowing through science, through research, like the research performed by Dr. Banerjee, that reincarnation is really a fact. Because when it is a positive fact, accepted for all in all scientific society, one day in the future, it is not yet accepted, only in small circles. But when the time comes that this subject, the reincarnation, will be accepted as a whole, as a fact, as a scientific fact, it will change all psychology, human psychiatry, and human psychoanalysis. Sorry. So later on in this meeting, Chico Xavier tells those present about a spiritual experience that took place with him in 1933, related to some friends, when Emmanuel took him to a Mahatma's meeting in a city with a large lake in the Himalayas. And there, Chico Xavier became aware of the future difficulties that the region of Tibet would go through with the Chinese invasion. And it transmits to us as follows. Chico told Dr. Banerjee, and before I come to Chico's words, they talk about India, and it was very interesting because Dr. Banerjee was born in a city in India that Chico Xavier went there in spirit, and Chico Xavier told him that he went there in the spirit, and not only in his hometown, but also in the capital city of New Delhi, and described to Dr. Banerjee both cities. And Dr. Banerjee was so impressed because the details that Chico Xavier explained to him was so real, because he was from there. He knows better, and he was very impressed that Chico Xavier could have this mediumship. It was out of doubt that Chico was telling the truth, because Dr. Banerjee recognized the description that Chico Xavier were telling him about his hometown and also about the city of New Delhi. But now comes the time that Chico Xavier went to this city in a lake, in a large lake at the Himalayas, and Chico told him, the spirit of inspiration in India is all over Brazil. There is a curious thing. I live in a city that raises Indian cattle. In the middle of the last century, some farmers in the region that we call the Minas Gerais Triangle, o Triângulo Mineiro, where Uberaba is on. Farmers in this region were so attracted to India that they sought out cattle in that country. But the spirits explained to me that they were reincarnated Hindus. So all those farmers from the Minas Gerais Triangle, the region in our state of Minas Gerais, in Portuguese is the Triângulo Mineiro, that is between the cities of Araxá, Uberaba, Uberlândia, and Ituiutaba. Those cities form a perfect triangle. That's why it's called the Minas Gerais Triangle. So Chico Xavier is explaining to us that all the farmers there that were reincarnated there, originally they were Hindus. They had in Hindus origin. They were Hindus that were reincarnated in Brazil, and because of that, he told us at this meeting that they came first, but they felt that they could go back to India to take their cattle with them. So that's the fact that the cattle, the Zebu and the Nelore cattle that were brought to Brazil by those farmers and received all the care, all the interested knowledge from those farmers. That's why it developed so well in this region. And so that Uberaba nowadays is called the capital city of the Zebu and Nelore cattle of Brazil. And Chico is explaining to Dr. Banerjee and all of them at that meeting that in fact they were, all the farmers in this Minas Gerais triangle, they were reincarnated Hindus. They also explained to Chico, the spirits, that in the Uberaba region, the sun hits with the same heat content as it hits in many Indian lands. So they came first and went to fetch the animals that would acclimate there. This is also a testimony that we can hear and listen and read at the book of Dr. Paulo Rossi Severino. He is Dr. Marlene Nobre brother, and also he was a director of Folha Espírita de São Paulo, and he had this testimony in the book Aprendendo com Chico Xavier, Knowing with Chico Xavier, an Exquisite Life. As we told you, Chico Xavier explained that the spirit of Emmanuel was the one that invited him to go to India in 1933. That's very interesting because in 1933, Chico Xavier was no one. He was just he has just had his first book launched, Parnassus of Beyond, Parnassus de Além Túmulo, that was published in 1932. So he was beginning to be a well-known figure in the Spiritism movement, but he was also very young age. In 1933, he was only 23 years old, and no matter that, in spite of that, he was invited to attend a Mahatma's meeting. And what he explained to Dr. Banerjee, and Dr. Banerjee, all the people that were in this meeting, especially Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade, that they had their testimony of this meeting. When Chico Xavier explained the reason why he was taken by Emmanuel to India to attend this Mahatma meeting, they all told us that Dr. Banerjee was very emotional, very surprised, and instinctively he went towards Chico Xavier to kiss his hands in a bow inclusive to Chico Xavier. And Chico was very humble at that moment, and he was disconcerted by this action of Dr. Banerjee. And so people were kind of surprised also, and Dr. Banerjee told everyone at that very moment, this man must be a very spiritual man from the higher plans, because if he went in 1933 to attend a Mahatma's meeting, he must be himself a Mahatma also. So that's very touching. We are now knowing through Dr. Banerjee's words that if Chico Xavier reincarnated in Brazil with only 23 years old, only 23 years of age, went in spirit, guided by Emmanuel, to attend a Mahatma's meeting in the higher plans of the Himalayas, in a lake, in a city, spiritual city by a lake, where Chico Xavier explained that there was 20 Mahatmas. We can now understand that there were 22 Mahatmas, because not only Chico Xavier was a Mahatma himself, but also Emmanuel was a Mahatma himself, because only attends a Mahatma meeting who Mahatma is. In sequence, Banerjee asked if Chico had ever, no, this is not the sequence, it was before, when Dr. Banerjee asked when Chico Xavier, if he has been to India. I have already explained it. And at that time, with the spontaneity that characterized Chico Xavier, the unforgettable friend replied that he was not there in the physical body, but in the spiritual body, in a state of spiritual unfolding. And the city of Dr. Banerjee, where Chico Xavier also visited, is the city of Jaipur, the hometown of Dr. Banerjee. And also, as I said, the capital, New Delhi, and of course, this spiritual city in the Himalayas, where Emmanuel took Chico Xavier to participate in this Mahatma meeting. And in that time, Dr. Banerjee asked Chico what the Mahatmas told him. And this is very interesting because he described to the illustrious visitor how the significant meeting of those same spirits had taken place at the Himalayas on the spiritual plane, who under divine laws are responsible for leading the Hindu people. Chico Xavier explained that the 20 spirits, the Mahatma spirits that he saw with Emmanuel, were the ones that under divine laws are the guides of the Hindu people, the people of India. And in that lake at the Himalayas, they told Chico that the future of Tibet was at danger. And they discussed about that, which the Tibet would undergo great suffering and transformations. And of course, in 1933, the Tibet region was an independent country, and after the World War II, China invaded Tibet and annexed the whole country to its own region, to its own power. And that, of course, it's a mediumship to foresee the future, not only by those 20 Mahatmas that were there transmitting to Chico Xavier a high degree of knowledge of this matter, or of this fact, but also for Chico Xavier and Emmanuel that took place in this revelation. Then, with tears in his eyes, as I told you, Dr. Banerjee got up from the chair he was in, and Dr. Nani concluded his report that he approached Chico, bowed to him respectfully, and asked for permission to kiss his hands in front of everyone present. And he told everyone he can only participate in a Mahatma meeting whoever Mahatma is too. This man must be, in fact, a great soul, an enlightened being, was the remarks that Dr. Banerjee explained the scientists, Brazilian scientists, to their general admiration, the ones that were present at this historical meeting. Of course, we can, to come to a close to this program, Professor Hemendranath Banerjee was also a parapsychologist, a researcher, and PhD writer. Is yet another example that science and spirituality can go together, can go in a path together. Here's a photograph of Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade a little before his passing away, and many thanks to his testimony and to his wife Suzuku, who also gave this audio to Oceano Vieira de Melo and us. Thank you so much. See you next week. Have all a good night.